No one remembered who tied the dog to the pole out back. The leash had frayed like it had been chewed halfway through, but he never tried to run. For 3 days he waited. Rain soaked his fur. Ambulance sirens came and went. Nurses tried coaxing him with biscuits, even brought water in a surgical bowl. He didn't move. He only watched the maintenance shed behind County General with unblinking focus, like he was guarding something, or waiting for someone. When Officer Mara Devlin finally followed his stare, she thought it would be another ghost lead. She was wrong. The late August heat clung like damp flannel, thick with the smell of asphalt, bleach, and something metallic, blood maybe, or fear. Officer Mara Devlin had been in uniform for 11 years, and still, the scent of a hospital parking lot made her stomach twist. Even in the quiet towns like Elbridge, Bishop, her K-9, let out a soft whine beside her as she stepped out of cruiser, his ears pinned forward, body tense. He wasn't looking at her or the ambulance dock, or even the small crowd of hospital staff gathered near the back lot. He was staring straight ahead, toward the maintenance shed. "Easy," Mara said under her breath, brushing her hand down his flank. But Bishop didn't relax. The call had come in half an hour ago. A stray dog refusing to leave the back of the hospital. Animal control said he wasn't dangerous, just unmovable. Growled when anyone got too close to the shed. Not aggressive, more like protective. Mara rounded the edge of the lot, boots scuffing on cracked pavement. Sunlight burned down in waves. The shed stood about 50 feet from the hospital itself, near the tree line where groundskeeping left old mulch piles and broken equipment to rust. The chain-link fence behind it bowed outward like something had pushed against it for years. And there he was, a German shepherd, lean, gray-muzzled, paws planted like stone. His coat was sun-faded, dark with rain and dirt. His leash was tied to the pole, yes, but loose enough he could have broken free if he wanted. He didn't want to. He just watched. Mara stopped a good 10 feet back. "Who tied you up, buddy?" The dog's ears twitched. No bark, no growl. But when Bishop took a step forward, the stray's head lowered just slightly, not in aggression, in warning. Mara knelt. "Stay, Bishop." She could see now. The dog was trembling, not from fear, from something held inside too long. One of the nurses stepped forward behind her. "We tried calling animal control again, but they're backed up. He hasn't moved since Thursday." "That's 3 days," Mara muttered. "Dr. Carson thinks maybe he belonged to a patient," the nurse added. "But no one's claimed him. Nobody matching his description in the ICU or ER. Mind if I take a closer look?" The nurse hesitated. "You can try." Mara stood slowly and stepped forward. The dog didn't flinch. But as she passed a patch of sun-warmed cement, a bitter smell hit her nose. Not garbage. Something fouler. Human. She scanned the area. A single overturned plastic crate behind the shed. Rust stains on the door. "Has anyone gone behind it?" she asked. The nurse shrugged. "Groundskeeper won't." Said the dog growled like hell when he tried. Bishop let out a low sound, not a bark, but close. His muscles rippled under his vest. And then, without command, he lunged toward the shed. "Bishop, he'll..." Mara barked, but he wasn't attacking. He veered left, then behind the structure, tail low, nose to the ground. The shepherd tied to the post didn't move, didn't react. Mara unclipped her sidearm, just in case. She followed Bishop into the shadow behind the shed and stopped cold, a pile of matted blankets, a streak of dried blood on the dirt, and the unmistakable shape of a hospital bracelet buried in the leaves. Back inside, the staff searched through the system. Only one female patient with a matching bracelet number had been discharged within the last 72 hours. "Eleanor Ray," said the nurse. "Admitted overnight Tuesday. Released Wednesday morning. Minor injuries. Walked out without follow-up. Address?" Mara asked. The nurse pulled up the record. Listed as no fixed residence. But emergency contact. Mara's jaw clenched. She read the name silently before speaking. Dr. Lily Ray. Dr. Lily Ray was an emergency physician, 39, sharp-boned and calm-eyed. She walked into the staff lounge like she didn't know Mara was waiting for her. But the second she saw Bishop, her expression shifted. Mara stood. Dr. Ray? Officer Devlin. A brief smile. Didn't expect to see you here. We found something out back. Lily raised an eyebrow. Something? Dog. Shed. Your sister's bracelet. That wiped the calm from her face. Lily sat without being asked. Her knuckles went white around the chair's edge. She was here? She asked, voice low. Mara watched her. You listed yourself as her contact, but you didn't report her missing. Lily's eyes stayed locked on the floor. She shows up injured. Mara continued. Gets discharged, and then vanishes behind a storage shed. What aren't you telling me? Lily's voice was barely above a whisper. She wasn't supposed to be here. You didn't know she was admitted? I knew she was in Elbridge, Lily said. She calls sometimes when she's off her meds. Or using. I thought I could keep distance this time. Let the storm pass. Mara studied her. The woman wasn't lying, but she wasn't clean either. Guilt poured off her like steam. I thought she left town, Lily said. Like always. She didn't, Mara replied. She was bleeding, hiding behind the shed. A pause. Then, she had a dog, Lily said, back when she was on the street in Portland. She called him Ghost. Mara tilted her head. He wouldn't leave her, Lily added, no matter what. That night, Mara sat outside the station, engine off, windows down. Bishop slept in the back seat, finally at ease. Ghost was with animal control now. In a kennel, silent, watching the door. Mara couldn't shake the way he looked at her. Not begging, not afraid, just waiting, like he brought them as close as he could. And now it was their turn to do the rest. The next morning, Mara returned to the shed at first light. A single beam of sun broke through the trees. Dew clung to the weeds. The rusted back door of the shed groaned open under her hand. Inside, shells of cleaning fluid, old stretchers, a broken four-stand, and drag marks. Thin, like someone had tried to crawl. Bishop moved toward the corner and sniffed once, then froze. His nose pressed against a box of rags. Mara pulled it back, and there was a cell phone, cracked screen, and beneath it, a waterlogged spiral notebook. She opened the first page. The handwriting was shaky. I wasn't supposed to come here. Lily said it would ruin everything. But I needed to see him, just once, before the chemo. Mara flipped to the next page. He didn't recognize me, but the nurse did. I heard her call Lily after I left. Now I don't know where to go. Ghost won't leave. He thinks we're safe here. Another page. If Lily finds me, she'll send me back. She always does. Mara stood still, the wind brushing through the broken window. She looked back toward the hospital, her jaw tight. There had been no report, no search party. Someone had wanted Eleanor to disappear quietly, and Mara was beginning to think it wasn't a matter of neglect. It was deliberate, and it ran blood deep. The Ray sisters had grown up 15 minutes outside Elbridge, in a gray farmhouse that still stood, barely, on Swan Hollow Road. People said the trees bowed differently out there, like they knew something. Most of them had long forgotten the rumors, or pretended to. Mara parked on the gravel shoulder just past the property line, where rusted fencing half hid behind tall thistle and trumpet vine. The place looked abandoned, except for a single upstairs window left open to the breeze, curtains stirring, slow as breath. She didn't knock. Inside, the air was thick with mothballs and mildew, wallpaper peeled in long curls. A family photo still sat on the mantel, their mother smiling tight-lipped, one hand on Eleanor's shoulder, the other gripping Lily's wrist like a leash. Mara stepped lightly, Bishop close at her heels. The floor creaked under their weight. Upstairs, a door slammed hard enough to shutter the walls. Bishop growled. Yeah, Mara whispered. I heard it, too. She found the white door at the end of the hallway, one that hadn't shut right when they were kids. It was closed now, locked from the inside. Mara tried the knob, then gave it 2 short knocks. Eleanor? No answer. But behind the wood, the sound of breathing. Sharp, panicked. I'm not here to hurt you, Mara said. I found your notebook. Still nothing. She sighed. I found Ghost. That did it. The latch clicked. The door opened 2 inches. Just enough for one bloodshot. I had to peer out. You with her? Eleanor's voice rasped. Mara shook her head. I'm not with anyone, she said. I'm just here to listen. The door opened wider. Eleanor Ray looked like she'd been carved from the shell of someone who used a smile. Bones too sharp, lips split, a bruise blossomed down one cheek like oil and water. She wore a hospital gown under a flannel shirt several sizes too big. She looked at Bishop and flinched. He's mine, Mara said gently. Yours is safe. Eleanor closed her eyes. Her voice barely carried. She told him I left on my own. Lily, a bitter laugh. She said I showed up high. I wasn't. I swear. Just wanted to see him. The boy. Your son. Mara asked. Eleanor nodded once. She promised if I stayed away, if I didn't claim him, they'd let me see him once in a while. But she lied. Mara stayed silent, letting the quiet settle. Eleanor's voice broke. She told the nurses I was dangerous. Got me discharged before I could say goodbye. Mara exhaled slowly. Her gut twisted. And then what? I stayed behind the shed. Ghost found me. I thought she'd come back. I thought she'd... She couldn't finish the sentence. I think she wants me dead, Eleanor whispered. Mara drove back to Elbridge in silence, the weight of Eleanor's words pressing like stones. She didn't call it in. Not yet. Instead, she pulled into the hospital lot again, staring at the shed. If Eleanor was telling the truth, the whole discharge had been orchestrated, forced, but there were no official marks in the logbook, no code violations, nothing illegal, just quiet manipulation, power used in the shadows. And now Mara was wondering how deep it went. She stepped into the ER, past triage, past vending machines, into the hallway where staff break rooms lined the back wing. She knocked on Dr. Lily Ray's office door. No answer. She opened it anyway. Lily stood inside, arms crossed, staring out the window. You were right, Mara said. She was here. Lily didn't turn around. She left more than her bracelet, Mara added. She left a record, a notebook, everything she remembers. Finally, Lily spoke. Did she say my name? Mara studied her. You already know the answer. Lily turned then. Her face was unreadable. You don't understand. Then make me, Mara said, because right now, it looks like you manipulated hospital staff into discharging your sister, so she'd disappear. And you never reported it. You just waited. I had to, Lily snapped. You think this town is kind to women like her? Like us? Our mother drank herself to death. Our father vanished when I was 13, and Ellie... She faltered. Ellie always ran toward fires and cried when they went out. I cleaned her up so many times I stopped believing it mattered. She's clean now. Lily looked like she'd been slapped. I ran her name through state records, Mara said. No recent drug charges. No priors in the last 5 years. Just one night in the ER, a visit to see her son, and then nothing. Because you made it nothing. Lily whispered. He's better off without her. Mara stared at her. And suddenly, she saw it. Not just guilt. Fear. What are you not saying? Lily hesitated. Then he's mine now. Mara blinked. What? I adopted him, Lily said. Legally. Years ago. After Eleanor disappeared the first time. You mean after you had her committed? She begged me to, Lily snapped. Then disappeared 2 days after she got out. Left the baby with a stranger. I didn't know where she was for a year. And when I did, she was panhandling outside a gas station in Vermont. Mara's mouth was dry. She's not fit to raise a child, Lily said. She knows it. I did what I had to. But she came back. And you lied. She's not stable, Lily said flatly. Even if she's clean now, it won't last. You don't know that. Lily's voice dropped. I can't risk him getting hurt. Mara took a step closer. Then why not get a restraining order? Why sneak around? Why let her sleep in the dirt behind your hospital? Lily's jaw clenched. Because I knew if she saw him again, she'd never leave. That night, Mara couldn't sleep. She stared at her ceiling, the soft wheeze of bishops breathing beside her bed. She thought about Eleanor's eyes, the way she shook, the way she still believed her sister would help her, even now. And she thought about Lily, standing like stone in her office, claiming she'd done everything out of love. Mara had seen a lot of things people called love, but this didn't feel like love. This felt like erasure. Sunday morning, Mara met Eleanor in the shelter at St. Luke's. She brought food, fresh clothes, a burner phone. Eleanor barely touched any of it. Instead, she stared at the wall, hands twisted in her lap. I used to make up stories, she said quietly. Back when we were kids, Lily would call them sick fairy tales. Said they made me dangerous. But I wasn't trying to scare anyone. She looked up at Mara. I just needed somewhere to put the truth. Mara nodded slowly. Do you want to fight her? Eleanor's voice cracked. What's the point? Mara didn't answer. Instead, she pulled something from her pocket. A photo, printed from the hospital's patient file system. It showed a boy, maybe 5, smiling crookedly with a gap in his teeth. Big eyes, straw-colored hair. He was holding a Lego dinosaur. His name's Ethan, Mara said. He likes robots and apple juice and won't eat crusts. The social worker says he's gentle, smart, quiet. Eleanor pressed the photo to her chest like it might vanish. I don't want custody, she whispered. I just want him to know I didn't leave. Then let's make sure he does. Mara stood. She'd already started the paperwork. If Lily wanted to keep pretending Eleanor didn't exist, then she'd have to do it in front of a judge, where secrets didn't stay buried. The courthouse in Elbridge wasn't much to look at. Brick faded to brown. The flag out front forever stuck halfway up the pole, and a cracked wooden bench out back where pigeons outnumbered people. But the silence in the courtroom that Monday morning was unlike anything Mara Devlin had felt before. Eleanor Ray sat small, but steady at the petitioner's table. Clean blouse, shaky hands folded tight. Her eyes, rimmed with exhaustion, never wandered from the door. Beside her, Mara didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence was the only statement she'd make today. And across from them, Dr. Lily Ray, her white coat traded for slate-gray professionalism, sat stiff and unreadable. A child psychologist by training. Calm, controlled, she held a folder in her lap like a shield. And between them, caught in the quiet current of tension, sat Ethan. The boy fidgeted, legs swinging under the chair, his stuffed dinosaur clutched tight in one hand. He didn't know what this was, only that everyone seemed to be pretending things were normal when they weren't. The judge, a tired man in wire-rimmed glasses, shuffled papers, his voice flat. Ms. Ray, you requested supervised visitation with your biological son, Ethan Ray, currently adopted and under the legal guardianship of your sister, Dr. Lily Ray. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, Eleanor said. Her voice didn't shake. Not once. Mara watched Lily's eyes narrow, barely, just enough to reveal a crack. And your intention is not to seek custody? Eleanor shook her head. I just wanted to know I'm real. A pause. Then Lily stood. With all due respect, she said, this is deeply inappropriate. My sister is a diagnosed bipolar patient with a documented history of substance abuse, instability, and psychiatric holds. She's already made threats in the past. She disappeared from Ethan's life by choice. No one's contesting that. Mara, cut in. But we are contesting the legality of the way Eleanor was discharged from Elbridge General under your direct pressure, without medical review, and without being notified of her legal options. That's not protection, doctor. That's erasure. Lily's jaw clenched. She's not stable. The judge looked over his glasses. Do you have recent medical evidence to support that? Lily blinked and said nothing. Mara leaned forward. Ghost found her behind the hospital shed, bleeding, starving, waiting, and she stayed there because she thought her sister would come help. That's who she still believed you were. Lily looked at her, finally really looked at her, and something cracked deep behind the eyes. Not anger, regret, but she couldn't say it. Wouldn't. The judge sighed. The court will grant supervised visitation pending psychological evaluation and the discretion of child services. He looked at Ethan. Would you like to meet her, son? The boy glanced at Lily, who hesitated, then gave the faintest nod. Ethan turned to Eleanor and smiled. They met outside in the garden behind the building. Nothing formal, just 10 minutes. 2 chairs, 1 stuffed dinosaur between them. Mara stayed nearby but gave them distance. Eleanor knelt to his level. Hi, she said. Ethan watched her, curious. I'm your mom, she added gently. Ethan looked at her for a long time, then reached out and touched the ends of her hair. You look like Aunt Lily, he said. Eleanor smiled, tears glassing her eyes. She looks like me, actually. He giggled. Then, why do you smell like a dog? She laughed, startled. That's a long story. Did the dog find you? Eleanor nodded. He never stopped. And across the lawn, from the back of the cruiser where he waited patiently in the shade, Ghost lifted his head and wagged his tail. It didn't happen overnight. Eleanor stayed at the women's shelter for a while, got on the county list for transitional housing, met with a social worker every week. She worked the graveyard shift at a roadside diner where they paid on the table and served eggs so rubbery they squeaked, and she never missed a single visitation. Lily kept her distance. At first, then less so. One Saturday morning, Mara spotted the 2 sisters standing outside the visitation center, not arguing, just standing, close, like people who had something left between them, something not yet forgiven, but not lost. Mara didn't interrupt. Some things need quiet to heal. The shed behind Elbridge General was torn down the following spring. Ghost stood at the tree line when the bulldozer came, watching. Bishop beside him like a sentry. The maintenance crew joked about it, but none of them stepped too close. There was something sacred in that dirt, not because of what had happened, but because of who waited there. On the first day of spring, Ethan drew a picture during visitation. A house with 2 doors, a dog in the yard, 3 stick figures holding hands. 1 tall, 1 medium, 1 small. He handed it to Eleanor, beaming. That's me, he said proudly, pointing at the smallest. Yeah. Eleanor said softly, and that's you. She nodded, barely breathing. And that's Ghost, he added, pointing to the dog with the 2 long legs. Eleanor smiled, her lips trembling. But who's that? She asked, pointing to the tallest figure, the one in the dark clothes with a badge on the belt. Ethan shrugged. That's the lady who doesn't talk much, but she always comes when something's wrong. Eleanor looked across the room. Mara was sitting with her arms crossed, pretending not to listen. Yeah, Eleanor said. She does. That evening, Mara took Bishop for a walk to the trails outside Elbridge, where the woods were thick and the skies spilled gold through the branches. At the edge of the clearing, she saw something sitting near the base of a tree. A toy, old, faded, chewed nearly in half. A stuffed dinosaur. And beside it, unmoving but alert, sat Ghost, waiting as always. Mara knelt beside him. You found her, she whispered. You knew what no one else did. Ghost pressed his head against her chest and sighed, deep and heavy, then turned and slowly walked toward the fading light. No leash, no fear, just peace.